It wasn't long before the village elders approached him with an unexpected offer. The position of regent had become vacant after the previous one had passed away. He was the perfect person to fill the role. He had earned the respect of the entire village, and they trusted him to lead them into this new chapter of growth and development. When they came to tell him the news, I was there, standing by his side. I could see the shock on his face. Kofi wasn't a man who sought power or titles. He had always been content with living quietly, providing for his family through his hunting. But this was different. It wasn't just about the title, it was about the responsibility. The village needed him, and for the first time in a long time, Kofi felt like he could give back in a meaningful way. I don't know if I'm the right man for this, he said quietly after the elders left. I've never led anyone before. I looked at him and smiled. Kofi, you've led Oma through the hardest years of your life. You've led by example, by showing the village what true strength and love look like. You're more than ready. Kofi nodded slowly, still unsure but willing to take on the challenge. A few weeks later, he was officially named regent of the village. There was a ceremony, simple but meaningful, where the village gathered to celebrate this new chapter. Kofi stood tall, dressed in his best clothes, as the elders placed the traditional robe over his shoulders. It was a proud moment, not just for him, but for everyone who had witnessed his journey. As regent, Kofi's responsibilities grew, but he handled them with the same quiet strength that had guided him through raising Oma. He listened to the villagers, made decisions that helped everyone, and always kept the needs of the community at the forefront. He didn't speak much, but when he did, people listened. The respect they had for him wasn't just because of his new title, it was because of the man he had become through years of perseverance and sacrifice. Oma's success had been the spark that ignited all these changes, but it was Kofi's resilience and dedication that kept the village moving forward. He never forgot where he had come from or what he had been through. Even as the village grew and modernized, Kofi remained the humble, hard-working man I had always known. With each passing day, it became clearer that Oma's achievements had opened doors not just for her, but for everyone in the village. Children looked up to her as a role model, knowing that if Oma could go from our small village to studying abroad, they could achieve great things too. The pride we felt wasn't just for Oma, it was for the future that lay ahead for all of us. Kofi, as regent, was leading us into that future. And as I looked around at all the changes happening, the lights, the new businesses, the excitement in the air, I knew we were entering a new dawn, one that was brighter than any of us had ever imagined. With each passing day, my admiration for Kofi grew. He had faced so many challenges, yet he never let them break him. He stood strong through all the pain, the ridicule, and the doubts. Watching him raise Oma had shown me what true perseverance looked like. He had done everything for his daughter, and now, not only had Oma's success brought recognition to her, but it also transformed Kofi into a leader for the entire village. But the rewards didn't stop with Kofi. My husband and I had always been there, quietly supporting Kofi whenever he needed help. We had never expected any recognition for it, of course. Helping Kofi raise Oma felt like the natural thing to do, like helping your own child grow up. We had been there in the early years, giving advice, sharing what little we had, and doing what we could to make sure Oma had what she needed. To us, it was family helping family. But it seemed that the village had noticed our efforts as well. After Kofi became regent, the village elders visited our home. I was surprised when they came. There had been no announcement, no reason for us to expect any visitors that day. But when they sat down with my husband and me, they spoke with a kind of respect we had never experienced before. You have both supported Kofi through difficult times, one of the elders said, looking at us warmly. We have seen your dedication to his family and your role in Oma's success. The village is grateful, and we believe it is time to recognize your contributions." I was taken aback. We had never thought of ourselves as doing anything extraordinary. We were simply doing what was right, helping where we could. But hearing those words from the elder made me realize that sometimes, even the smallest acts of kindness and support do not go unnoticed. It was a humbling moment, one that filled me with pride for the quiet work we had done over the years. My husband was also recognized for his role, and the village gave him a position of respect within the community. He was asked to join the Council of Elders, a role reserved for those who had proven themselves to be wise and trustworthy. I could see the pride in his eyes as he accepted the position. It was a reward not just for him but for all the years we had spent standing by Kofi's side, never wavering in our support for him and Omar. Life in the village had changed so much since Omar's success. It felt like the entire community had grown closer, as if we had all shared in her achievement. Omar's journey had not just been her own, it had been a collective effort, and now we were all reaping the rewards. There was a sense of unity that hadn't been there before. People worked together more, helped each other more. The village had always been a close-knit place, but now there was a deeper sense of connection. My family and I stood taller, knowing we had played a part in Omar's journey. It was a feeling of shared pride, and it brought us even closer as a family. Kofi would often come by our home to talk about his new responsibilities as regent. He was still adjusting to the role, but we could see how well he was doing. He listened to the villagers, made careful decisions, and always put the needs of the community first. I could see how much he had grown, not just as a father, but as a leader. And that growth inspired all of us. Amma, though far away in her studies, was never far from our minds. We wrote to her regularly, and every time we received a letter back, it was filled with stories of our adventures in a new world. She was thriving, just as we had always known she would. Her success gave hope to the children in the village, who now dreamed bigger dreams. They looked up to her, wanting to follow in her footsteps. Amma had become more than just a symbol of individual success, she had become a beacon of what was possible, even for a child from a small village. The sense of victory wasn't just for our family, it was for the whole community. People who had once doubted Kofi, or had laughed at him for raising Omar on his own, now came to him for advice. He had earned their respect through his quiet determination and hard work. And in turn, our entire family was treated with the same respect. It felt like the village had come full circle, from ridicule to admiration, from doubt to belief. What had started as a struggle for one family had become a victory for all. We were no longer just individuals with separate lives, but a community united by shared success and a brighter future. My husband and I took great pride in knowing that we had played a part in that. We had supported Kofi when he needed it most, and in doing so, we had also contributed to Omar's incredible journey. There was a deep sense of fulfillment in that. It wasn't about the recognition or the new titles, those were just symbols. The real reward was the feeling of having helped build something bigger than ourselves. It was about seeing Kofi grow into a respected leader, watching Omar spread her wings, and knowing that our family's love and support had made a difference. As I looked around the village, now lit by electricity and bustling with new energy, I realized that this was just the beginning. A new dawn had risen, and we were all a part of it. The future was bright, and I knew, without a doubt, that it was a future filled with even more possibilities for all of us. Amma went on to achieve great things in her career, but she always remained connected to the village. She established a foundation to support education and development projects, ensuring that future generations would have the resources and opportunities they needed to thrive. The village continued to prosper under Kofi's leadership. New businesses were established, infrastructure improved, and there was a renewed sense of pride and identity. The villagers worked together to build a brighter future, inspired by Omar's achievements and Kofi's dedication. My husband and I continued to support Kofi and the village in every way we could. We were proud of what we had achieved together, and we knew that our family's legacy of love and resilience would continue to inspire future generations. One of the most significant changes was the construction of a new town hall. This hall was not just a building, it was a symbol of the village's growth and unity. The villagers decided to name it Adua Memorial Hall, in honor of Omo's late mother. It was a touching tribute, recognizing Adua's memory and the strength she had passed on to her daughter and husband. The day of the town hall's grand opening was filled with excitement and anticipation. Amma had returned to the village for the occasion, and everyone was eager to hear her speak. The hall was beautifully decorated, and the villagers gathered in large numbers, their faces beaming with pride. As Amma stood before the crowd, there was a hush of expectation. She looked around, taking in the familiar faces and the new ones, feeling a profound connection to her roots. Her eyes glistened with tears as she began her speech. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "This hall, Adua Memorial Hall, is not just a building. It is a testament to our collective strength, our resilience, and our love for one another." She paused, looking at the plaque that bore her mother's name. "I never had the chance to know my mother, Adua, personally. She passed away giving birth to me. Everything I know about her comes from the stories my father and all of you have shared with me." Amma's voice wavered slightly, but she continued with strength. "From these stories, I have learned that my mother was a woman of incredible kindness, strength, and love. She cared deeply for this village and its people. She believed in the power of community, and she had a vision for a better future for all of us." She looked over at her father, Kofi, who stood proudly among the villagers. "My father, Kofi, has been my greatest source of strength and inspiration. He raised me with so much love and dedication, teaching me the values that my mother held dear. Through his stories, I have come to know my mother and to understand the profound impact she had on our lives." Amma took a deep breath, her eyes shining with gratitude. "This hall is a tribute to my mother's legacy, but it is also a symbol of our collective journey. It represents the hard work, the sacrifices, and the unity that have brought us to where we are today. It is a place where we can come together, celebrate our achievements, and plan for a brighter future." The crowd listened intently, many wiping away tears. Amma's words resonated deeply with them, reflecting their shared experiences and hopes. "As we move forward," Amma continued, "let us remember the values that have guided us: love, resilience, and community. Let us honor my mother's memory by continuing to support one another, by nurturing our children, and by striving for greatness. Together, we can achieve anything." The applause that followed was thunderous. Amma's speech had touched the heart of everyone present, reaffirming their commitment to their shared future. As the celebration continued, there was a palpable sense of hope and optimism in the air. Amma's achievements had brought about significant changes, but it was her connection to her roots and her commitment to her community that truly inspired the village. The Adua Memorial Hall stood as a lasting tribute to her mother's legacy and a beacon of hope for future generations. As the festivities came to an end, Kofi and Amma shared a quiet moment together. "Your mother would be so proud of you," Kofi said, his voice filled with emotion. "You have honored her memory in the most beautiful way." Amma hugged her father tightly. "Thank you, Papa," she replied. "Everything I am, I owe to you and Mama. I will carry her legacy forward and continue to make our village proud." With love and resilience, the village looked forward to a bright future, knowing that together, they could achieve anything. The legacy of Adua, Kofi, and Amma would continue to inspire and guide them for generations to come.